So this time we're looking at Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman, Omnibus Volume 1. This is the new printing. It's got a $100 cover price, 800 pages. As of the time of this shoot, it's still in stock at InStockTrades.com. Probably a few other places. Of course, Amazon has copies still. Some places have already ran out of this second printing. So, I don't know. It's going to be one of those again, I guess. Uh, since it is a new printing, it does have the thinner paper, unfortunately, the thinner pages that a lot of the newer Omnis are coming with now, and it's that aspect is not good. I got to be honest. Uh, the pages are super glossy, but they're pretty thin. There's some bleed through, and with it being thinner like that, the pages are more fragile than they should be on a book with a $100 cover price. A hardcover premium book shouldn't have paper this thin, quite frankly. So that's not good. I hope Marvel fixes this. They really should. I'd be happy with something midway between the original thicker paper that we had with the first gen Omnis and this super thin that we have now. If they just kind of met me halfway there, I'd be good with that. So, but I mean, the binding has been strong. I haven't had any problems with that. Everything is aligned well. Pages aren't wavy, and I've seen that on some Omnis, but this one, the only real criticism I have with the build is the thin paper. Overly thin, I would say. So Jonathan Hickman wrote everything collected here. My first Hickman book was Secret Warriors in 2009. The first 6-issue arc of that series was co-written with Brian Michael Bendis. I mean, I'm a huge Bendis fan. No apologies there. And I did enjoy that first arc the most. I did like the series enough overall that I stayed with it. I think it went to about 28 issues or so, and I did finish it. I guess part of what hampered my enjoyment of that series was I wasn't real fond of either of the two rotating artists that were on that book. And it's always frustrating for me, especially when a book has great cover art consistently, but it's not the same artist as inside, and it's not even the same style as the art inside, and that's what we had here. On that run, Jim Chung did a lot of the covers, and they were excellent. He is awesome. But the inside was radically different, and so that hurt my enjoyment of it a lot as an art fan. But Jonathan Hickman's very popular. I don't have to say much about him probably for some runs he later did on Avengers and X-Men. I haven't read either of those runs, so I can't really comment on that. My opinion overall of Hickman, based on reading his Secret Warriors and this run, is that he's strong on plot, and he's also strong on past Marvel concepts and continuity. So I would say he's one of those guys that I don't know much about Hickman, but I would imagine that he's been a Marvel fan for a very long time to have the breadth of knowledge that he does of past Marvel continuity. I mean, his stories are very well steeped in it, which is appealing to an older fan like me. He kind of reminds me of Kirby in that he's a big idea guy. His plots and his concepts are just tremendous, much like Jack Kirby was. And he's very strong on the complex plots and epic stories. More traits of Kirby, But I think he's a little light on characterization. Something I guess you could also say of Kirby, and that's one of the reasons Kirby's a much better artist than he is a writer. Art-wise, we have a bit of a list here. I mean, fortunately, while these artists all have somewhat different styles, they don't clash because we don't have like the dichotomy of realistic versus cartoony, which we see in some cases. That doesn't happen here. So there's no jarring styles of art that clash with each other because all these artists are somewhat real on the realistic side. And also, I would say more on the tight side of penciling rather than the loose, sketchy style, because those clash badly a lot too, and that's jarring when you're reading a run and you go from scratchy, sketchy stuff to tight, clean stuff. That's not good either. But yeah, Fortunately, we don't have that here. We've got Dale Eaglesham, Neil Edwards, Steve Epting, fantastic Steve Epting. I've never seen bad Steve Epting. I mean, he just delivers time and time again. Sean Chin, beautiful, fine line work that he has. Good stuff. Dick Dragata, which I had not previously seen, but he seems fine. And Barry Kitson. Now, the Barry Kitson stuff is really good, too. I've already started running some scans here. I'm sure you've been looking at that, and I'll try to ID each one so you can see the differences and the similarities. Dale Eaglesham, I love most of what he's done here, except for the huge muscles on all the males. Every male, especially in the earliest stuff, the earlier issues he did in this run, are just tremendously bulky muscles. I mean, their necks are corded and huge, like a bodybuilder, you know, like a just ripped bodybuilder. I mean, it's especially jarring on Reed Richards because I can't see any reason to ever make Reed Richards a muscle-bound Conan level dude. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. For one thing, he don't have time to be doing that. He don't have time to be building his body. The guy's a scientist. He's building, you know, gateways to other worlds. He ain't got no time to be hitting no gym. Come on. I mean, it's crazy. I'll show some pictures here, some scans directly from this Omni, and Reed Richards' neck muscles are downright scary as drawn by Dale Eaglesham early on. I mean, he looks like he could snap you just with his neck alone. I mean, I got to blame the editors as much as I do Dale Eaglesham, though. I mean, the editors, when he first started turning these pages in, someone should have said, hey, you know, you're a great artist, but Reed Richards does not have that kind of muscle mass. I mean, Johnny doesn't either, for that matter, but I could forgive it more of Johnny than I could Reed. Reed's a scientist, not a bodybuilder. But so as far as content, this collects Dark Reign, Fantastic Four 1 through 5, Fantastic Four 570 through 588, and FF 1 through 5, which stands for Future Foundation. I mean, it could stand for both, so I guess it does. Fantastic Four, Future Foundation, they're both FF. I see what you did there, Jonathan, but okay. And it also has some stuff from Dark Reign, the Cabal one-shot. It'll take one more omnibus to complete Jonathan Hickman's run on the FF. And, of course, that has long since been printed and out of print. You know, but that one's coming up soon, the second printing of that, the new printing of Volume 2. I really liked all this material, but it is a plot monster. You know, I mean, it's layered and a little convoluted at time. Some would say hard to follow a little bit, maybe. You know, I think it's a fair criticism. One thing I found interesting is the Council of Reeds. You know, I had read these books in single form primarily when they came out. This series started in 2009, this run. And I had actually forgotten about it, but to prepare for this review, I read through a lot more of it, and I flipped through the new printing, and I read the few things I hadn't read, like mainly the latter part of the book. And I kept thinking to myself, Council of Reeds, man, this is a whole lot like the Council of Ricks from Rick and Morty, which I'm a huge Rick and Morty guy. I mean, they're almost identical concepts. They really are. I mean, parallel world versions of Rick and parallel world versions of Reed. Some are radically different from one another, but they're all genius level, brilliant guys, you know. So I thought, well, I gotta find out who ripped who. So I looked that up, and the Council of Ricks on Rick and Morty was 2014. That first episode that had the Council of Ricks. So, you know, I think Jonathan Hickman did it first. This is an 8-star book, as far as I'm concerned. It's very heavy on plot and a little bit lighter on character than I like to see, than I would prefer. I think Hickman is a little more ambitious at times, a little over-ambitious. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I think that some of the high concepts and the intricate plots sometimes sort of drown out for me what should be the core of the Fantastic Four, and that's family. I mean, that's what the Fantastic Four is. They're a family first. And for me, the sci-fi should come secondary. But I mean, it's a matter of preference, I think. But highlights for me, the things I really love about this run in this volume is the Council of Ricks, which I mentioned a while ago. The stuff with the Inhumans is all really good. The art on the Inhumans is just excellent. I mean, man, just take a look at some of these scans. I also really like the Doctor Doom bits, with them helping him get his mind back together and all that. I really like that. I thought that was well done. Another highlight for me is the kids handling Norman Osborn and his government thugs coming to the Baxter building, and the kids sort of do this cat and mouse. It's almost like a Marvel Home Alone thing a little bit, and I really enjoyed that. I thought the cast was a little too large at times, and I think that family aspect kind of gets lost in that clutter sometimes too. So, one thing I hated was the future Foundation uniforms, those white uniforms. Oh man, I just thought that was a horrible design, just terrible. It especially looked bad on Ben Grimm. I mean, Ben Grimm with pants can be done well. Waringo did it well on the Wade Waringo run, but those weren't white pants. I mean, come on, white pants? But the only superhero I can think of that pulls off a white costume and it works well is Moon Knight. But man, I think that was definitely a mistake. That those costumes are horrible. I do think that this would be a terrible choice for someone's first, dose of Fantastic Four. I think one should always start with the Lee Kirby stuff, or at least some of it, before you hop on into more modern versions, just so you have that core, you have that understanding of what it should be based on. I mean, if you want a more modern take, I say go to John Byrne's excellent run, and or the Wade Waringo run, if you want something a little even more modern than the John Byrne, which of course is 80s. Save this run for after Byrne and Wade Waringo. Now, one other thing I should point out, if you have no knowledge of the big Marvel events that came before this run, namely Civil War, Secret Avengers, Dark Reign, if you don't have an understanding of those big event books, you're going to be quite lost here. So that's something to keep in mind too if you're thinking of hopping into this. So you probably don't want to hop into this without some prior knowledge of the Fantastic Four, and definitely those events that set up a lot of these big concepts that's going to come during this run. So next Monday, I'm going to be back on, it'll be May 2nd, and it's going to be a double omnibus review of the Marvel Monster Buses by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby. And that's volumes 1 and 2. I'm going to take a look at both of those together. So come back for some monsters. And if you like this kind of concept, or this kind of content rather, subscribe so you don't miss stuff. I do have little bits of extra sometimes throughout the week, unboxings, things like that. So, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and come back and let me know what you think of all this down in the comments. I like a good argument, but keep it civil, but tell me what you think.